Census here, biting Sangsi's wall. The international situation is evolving in a bizarre manner nowadays. This time, the United Kingdom, France, and Germany have joined hands and agreed to form a triangular alliance. They have formed a new triangular alliance, going beyond NATO or the European Union today. I'll cover this topic in detail. Let's get right into it. Recently, President Trump has been increasingly disregarding alliances. Consequently, Europe, which relied on the United States for security, has begun to feel a genuine crisis. As intelligence reports consistently warn of an imminent Russian invasion, Europe has begun to consider the necessity of arming itself. Since the United States has been abandoning its allies so much, global trust in President Trump has dropped sharply. According to a survey conducted by the Pew Research Center, an American polling company, of more than 30,000 people in 25 countries around the world, only 35% of respondents viewed the United States positively, a 16 percentage point drop from last year's 51%. In particular, trust in President Trump was recorded at 24%, considering that Joe Biden, who was the United States president at the time, recorded 53%. This is a very low figure. President Xi Jinping recorded a similar 22%. Consequently, there is a rising belief in Europe that they cannot rely on President Trump and the United States and must become more self-reliant. That was exactly the Franco-German-Polish Triangle Alliance. The New York Times reported on July 18th that the United Kingdom, France, and Germany are strengthening defense cooperation and taking responsibility for European security themselves, setting aside post-Brexit conflicts. In May 2025, the leaders of the three nations also visited Kiev together, showing their united support for Ukraine. They are speeding up efforts to make the three-way alliance more organized and comprehensive. United Kingdom Prime Minister Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron agreed to coordinate nuclear weapon use on July 9. As a result, the United Kingdom and France have established a military political body to coordinate their nuclear response. What's interesting is that this kind of nuclear agreement is the first in history. This was done because Russia's threats continued and the United States' commitment to European security weakened. The United Kingdom and France stated that the Nuclear Cooperation Declaration is a response to a common enemy threatening Europe. The British government declared that this agreement allows the United Kingdom and France's nuclear deterrence to be independent and coordinated for the first time. They stressed that any hostile force threatening the core interests of either nation will face the combined nuclear capabilities of both the United Kingdom and France. France stated that the agreement demonstrates solidarity between two nuclear powers and sends a message to both allies and adversaries. They didn't specifically mention who these hostile forces are, but it's clear to everyone that they were referring to Russia. The Wall Street Journal noted that this agreement implies a widening of the nuclear umbrella across Europe. The Wall Street Journal assessed that this move appears to be an effort to reassure allies who feel uneasy about America's commitment to the security of the European continent. The analysis suggests that the goal is to increase independence from the United States nuclear safety net and deploy British and French nuclear weapons throughout Europe. That wasn't all. On July 17, Germany and the United Kingdom signed the Kensington Agreement, focused on Article 3, Section 3 of this agreement. Germany and the United Kingdom signed a mutual defense pact. Article 3, Section 3 states that as close allies, they pledge their national sovereignty for mutual defense, providing support, including military means, if either side is attacked by force. The United Kingdom and Germany, already bound by the NATO Collective Defense Treaty, have signed a new mutual defense agreement despite no real necessity for a separate pact. For the first time since World War I, Germany and the United Kingdom have signed a comprehensive agreement on defense and the economy. The Kensington Agreement also includes the development of a missile with a range of 2,000 kilometers, and it specifically states a deadline to develop it within 10 years. A 2,000-kilometer range is sufficient to hit targets deep within Russia. The United Kingdom, France-Germany Triangular Security Alliance is progressing rapidly and is likely to develop into a practical, systematic joint security system beyond symbolic gestures. This movement is not just a short-term diplomatic event, but the beginning of building a united security platform with shared strategic goals and a mid to long-term vision. France's Emmanuel Macron is set to visit Berlin, Germany in the coming weeks to discuss security cooperation in depth with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. This marks a practical turning point for strategic trilateral summit-level cooperation, following the United Kingdom-France Declaration on Coordinated Use of Nuclear Weapons signed in London last July, and the Kensington Treaty, which includes a United Kingdom-Germany Mutual Defense Agreement. Notably, these three countries are not only supporting Ukraine, but are already planning to deploy peacekeeping forces, considering the post-war order. Under the Alliance of Will, they are pursuing an unusual military framework capable of independent operations without support from the United Nations, European Union, or NATO, going beyond mere political rhetoric. This Alliance of Will holds a meaning surpassing mere military deployment. The task force will handle multiple complex missions in post-war Ukraine, including reconstruction, public order stabilization, border control, monitoring and containing Russian forces, and civilian protection. CENAR is setting up a joint operational command system within the cooperative framework, and a regular consultative body for this purpose is also being formed. The United Kingdom, France, and Germany are forming a new alliance to supplement NATO or the G7 as they believe an additional system is necessary. NATO, a defense alliance with 32 members, has grown into a large bureaucracy that depends significantly on the United States. As the United States continues to downplay its alliances, doubts arise about NATO's ability to properly respond to an invasion by hostile forces. President Trump has questioned NATO's principle of collective defense when a member is attacked. He has repeatedly hinted at abandoning Article 5, which Europe sees as a major threat. The United Kingdom, France, and Germany desired a more compact and flexible organization to adapt to evolving Europe-United States relations. They are now taking action to actively respond to the threat from Russia. President Trump has not officially responded, but is likely uncomfortable with the situation internally. Some in the United States argue that this is not Europe's independence, but a failure of United States foreign policy. America's isolationist diplomacy is accelerating the separation from Europe and reducing American influence there, making it natural for them to feel uncomfortable. However, some say that thanks to President Trump putting pressure on Europe, he actually achieved what he wanted. President Trump continuously pressured Europe to increase its defense spending and to defend itself. Consequently, Europe consented to raise its defense spending, including infrastructure development, to around 5% of gross domestic product. However, President Trump further pressured them. The United Kingdom, France, and Germany formed a triangular alliance, vowing to defend Europe on their own. The United States is overwhelmed, dealing with both China and Russia simultaneously. However, if war erupts in Europe and Europe defends itself, the United States can focus solely on China. As a result, one could argue that President Trump's strategy has been effective. As the trilateral alliance is new, it's too early to assess it. We must observe closely for more details. The new triangular security alliance between the United Kingdom, France, and Germany is becoming a structure that takes responsibility for Europe's security. The United States is stepping back from its role as the primary guarantor of European security, and the three major European nations plan to fill that void. This implies more than just the signing of a simple defense treaty. As the United States' burden decreases in one area, it can focus its diplomatic and military resources more intensely in other regions. The other region is Asia, specifically the Indo-Pacific, which includes Korea. Currently, President Trump's United States is showing a diplomatic stance that tends to neglect alliances, but when it comes to keeping China in check, it maintains a persistent attitude. Due to China's military provocations in the Taiwan Strait, South China Sea, and West Sea, the United States feels a growing need to bolster cooperation with allies to counter China. As Europe becomes more independent with its security, the United States has naturally focused more diplomatic and military attention on Asia. The Korean Peninsula situation presents a significant challenge and opportunity for Korea, as it remains a highly sensitive region with a substantial risk of military conflict. North Korea's continued nuclear development and missile tests, along with the strategic cooperation between China and Russia, are once again highlighting that South Korea is one of the key cards the United States cannot afford to lose in Asia. However, we must not ignore that the United States has become more strict in its trust standards for allies. President Trump has previously made concerning statements, suggesting South Korea pay more for defense and that United States defense of allies would be situational if attacked. This is not mere diplomatic rhetoric, but is linked to a strategic trend of pushing allies to become more militarily and diplomatically independent, or restructuring the security network surrounding the United States. So the most important task for Korean diplomacy right now is to deliver a clear message to the United States. In essence, Korea must consistently demonstrate through its global actions, policies, and strategic messaging that it remains a crucial strategic United States ally and a trustworthy cooperative partner. In summary, while Europe pursues its own course, the United States is shifting its focus to Asia. Korea's approach to this trend will shape its diplomatic influence, strategic position, economy, and security. Now is the time for Korea to make genuine preparations to become a strategic central nation amidst the structural shifts in the global landscape, not merely chanting slogans about preserving the Korea-United States alliance. Sharing nuclear capabilities and forming a triangular alliance with Germany beyond NATO is a declaration of a new era, not just a simple agreement. International affairs are progressing without the United States. As the world changes, what choices should we make amidst this significant wave of change? I'm also curious about your thoughts. Please leave your comments below. That's the end of the video. Thank you.